This is section 2.1, part 4, example 4. Find a linear equation such that f of 2 equals -3 and f of 4 equals -7. So we have done this before, but we did it with a pair of points. Well, it turns out these are just a pair of points, just written in a different way. F of 2 equals -3 is the same as saying 2 -3, and f of 4 equals -7 is the same as having the point for -7. And then again it says find a linear equation. Remember I said every time you see that linear equation word, y equals mx plus b should come to mind. But again, we're dealing with functions. We're just going to write f of x instead of y. Okay, so we need two things. We need a slope and we need a point. Okay, do we have a slope? Well, we don't, but we can find it using the formula y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, and using our given points here. So we have y sub 2 minus y sub 1, and then x sub 2 minus, and you can do it the other way around. You can do -7 minus -3 divided by 4 minus 2. And I just did it this way. And that is equal to -3 plus 7, which is 4, and 2 minus 4, which is -2. And again, always simplify, and we get that our slope is -2. We have a point. In fact, we have two of them. I'm just going to choose the first one. Okay, we're ready to find the equation of our line. Now, because we don't have the y-intercept, I'm going to use the point lobe formula to find the equation of my line. And we have y minus, so I'm using this point and I'm using our slope of -2. So you have y minus y1, that's -3, is equal to our slope -2, and then x minus 2rx sub 1. And all we have to do now is simplify. And that gives us the equation of our line. And then again, just because we're dealing with functions, we are going to write it as a function. And we have one more question. If you notice, I did ask you to find f of 9. All we have to do now is plug in that x equals 9 value into the function that we found. We have f of 9 is equal to -2 times 9 plus 1. And therefore, f of 9 is -18 plus 1, which is -17. And we are done with that example. Next, let's take a look at supply and demand. This actually comes in handy if you're studying economics, or if you want to be an economist. I'm going to show you how to read this, and I also want you to take some time to learn these definitions, think about what they mean. So we have a supply function and we have a demand function, and they are exactly what they sound like. Supply is, and here's the definition for supply. Supply is the amount of product that a company makes available for sale. And then demand is, of course, how much product we are buying. So the demand, how much we want and how much we want to purchase. Now, if you look over at the right, the point where supply and demand meet, so where the consumer and the producer meet, that's actually called the equilibrium point. So if you look over at the graph, I'm going to just write it in here. Oh. So if you look over at the graph, this point in the middle is called the equilibrium point. And that's actually where we all are happy and we all compromise, the consumer and the supplier. I'm going to show you how to read this graph. So I'm going to focus on this graph. I'm going to zoom in. Okay. And let's take a look at what happens here. Let's do the first part of the chart here. Let's say that, and these are, by the way, chocolate bars. So supply and demand functions for chocolate bars. Let's say that the consumer wants 100 chocolate bars. That's how much they want to buy. That's how much in demand this chocolate is. But the supplier has 500 chocolate bars that they have supplied or produced. Well, at that value, what is the price? At that demand and supply, what is the price? So let's go and look at our graph. And I guess I'm just going to stick with orange. So here's 100. Let's highlight this. Here's 100. And we are going to go up to our quantity function. So here is our quantity demand function right here at 100. Now the quantity supplied is 500. So we're going to go up to 500 on our supply curve right there. So now what we want to do is we want to draw a straight line from the price to see what the price should be. And there you have it. That's actually how people determine how much to sell a product for. So in this case, and by the way, the supply and demand is not the same for every single item. So in this case, when the consumer wants 100 chocolate bars and the supplier is making 500 chocolate bars, then the price will be $2. Press pause now and see if you can fill out this part of the table by looking at this graph. Hopefully you did press pause and now you're back and you filled out the table, and I'm going to give you the answers so you can see them. And there are the answers for what the price should be of these chocolate bars